Hello and welcome to this video presentation on bcPodNanny, an app from Binary Computing Limited. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that I'm running Windows 10 on my laptop. I have also downloaded and installed bcPodNanny from the Binary Computing website. The install process just takes a few minutes and it creates an icon on the desktop by default. I'll now start bcPodNanny via the desktop icon. One of the first screens presented is an example of a message from iTunes. You may see this message from iTunes when you attach an iPod to your computer and if you have iTunes installed and depending on your iTunes preferences. If you see this message, then please pay special attention and take the appropriate steps as highlighted as it relates to syncing your iPod with iTunes. Worst case scenario, it could erase your iPod. If you do not want to see this message again every time you start the app, then check the Do Not Show This Message Again checkbox and select Close to continue. I'll leave it as it is for now and continue. bcPodNanny has now started. One of the first messages you can now see is that it's telling me that no iPods were found. Press OK to continue. The reason there were no iPods found is simply because none were attached to my laptop before I started bcPodNanny. Alternatively, I could have simply attached one or more iPods to my computer before starting bcPodNanny. They would then have been auto-detected by bcPodNanny. Note, for bcPodNanny to detect any iPods, they must first be attached to your computer and visible as an attached drive in my computer, which is called this PC on Windows 10. Here is an example of my attached drives. As you can see, there are no iPods attached. I will now attach two iPods to my laptop and they should be auto-detected by bcPodNanny. There are now two iPods visible in the app window, one called Charity and the other called AJ. Here is another look at the attached drives. As you can see, Charity and AJ's iPod are mounted as drives under my computer. If you have any problems, then always first check the iPods are attached and visible on your computer. There is also a manual scan process under File, Scan for iPods. Though this should not normally be necessary. Before we get into the core features of bcPodNanny, I would quickly like to mention the help option. I am not going to go over this in detail as you can have a look for yourself. The help options are About. This displays the bcPodNanny version information. Check for updates. Check to see if a newer version of the app is available. Support takes you to the online Contact Us page. YouTube, Binary Computing YouTube channel for video tutorials, etc. Help. This option presents the documentation that is embedded into the app. Please note you can also move the app window around on your desktop and resize as necessary. Before we continue, I want to talk briefly about the two attached iPods, starting with Charity. As you can see, there are two playlists. The first one with the cogwheel is the master playlist and contains everything on the iPod. On this playlist, you cannot drag and drop tracks to rearrange the order, but you can sort by column headings. You can also delete tracks, which would then update all the playlists on this iPod. On the other playlist, I can drag and drop tracks to rearrange the tracks order. But anything I delete here is only deleted in this playlist, but not on the master playlist. On the other iPod, here there are multiple playlists. Note the playlist with the lock icon. These are read-only and their contents cannot be modified. Now moving on to the menu bar option, starting with File. Under File, I have Scan for iPods that I previously mentioned, and Exit. The other two options are not yet currently available. This is because I need to select something first. I'll just click on Charity for now. Under File, you now see the other options. The Save Selected allows you to save things from your iPod onto your computer. For example, I could navigate through Charity, select a particular playlist, select one or more tracks, and do the File Save Selected and save these onto my computer. Alternatively, I could do it at the playlist level, or in this example, I'm going to do it at the iPod level, and I'll select the File Save Selected as. This takes me to the next screen. I've already created a folder on my desktop called bcTest and a subfolder within that called Test1. I'll now make sure that's highlighted and then click Save. It's now saving the tracks from my iPod onto my computer. That's finished. I'll click Finish. Going back to the bcTest folder, which I'll just open up. Click Test1, and there are the tracks that I copied onto my computer, primarily for backup purposes. The File Add option is essentially an import function that allows you to add in media files from your computer onto your iPod. There are two sub-options, one to add in one or more files, or the other to add in entire folders onto your iPod. This can be a top-level folder which will include any subfolders, or an individual folder that has no additional subfolders. The process is the same, so I'll just do an add folders. But before I do, let me show you my master playlist first on Charity, so you can then see the new tracks after I have completed the add folders option. I'll just sort on artist, and you can see that there's nothing beginning with L. I'll now go to File, Add Folders. This opens up a new dialog screen where I can select the target folder that I want to copy in. I've already navigated through to my music library. I'll click on this one. I won't select individual folders within that. I'll just do it at the top level as I mentioned earlier, and I'll press OK. I'll click Yes to all subfolders. It's now copying the tracks from my computer onto my iPod. If there are any duplicates, it will tell you. Okay, that process is now completed. I'm now going to Charity, select the master playlist again, and you now can see that the tracks have been copied in. The other option under File is obviously the Exit option that allows you to close the bcPodNanny app, or you can do that from the top right hand close window option. Within Edit, there are multiple options available, the first being Open. The other options become highlighted and available as you navigate through the iPod. Selecting Open will simply take me into the selected iPod. Alternatively, I could have just double-clicked on the selected iPod. Remember, you have to select something within the iPod before the remaining options within Edit become available. In this example, I have selected one of the playlists. The next option within Edit is New Playlist to create a new playlist. This option can be selected via Edit or via the right mouse button, right-click, and then selecting New Playlist. This method can also be used for all the other options within Edit. I'll now create 2 new playlists. The new playlists have been created, but they contain nothing at present. Next, I can use the copy and paste options to select an entire playlist or one or more tracks from a playlist and then copy into one of the new playlists. I can also copy and paste between different iPods. Within the playlist, except the master playlist, I can do the usual things like drag and drop and delete. Drag and drop obviously to rearrange the track order or delete one or more tracks. I can also delete entire playlists. The remaining option within Edit is Rename. This can be used to rename a playlist, or it can be used to change information for one or more tracks. To change the information, put a check mark against the item you want to change, make the change in the appropriate field, and then select OK. As you can see, the changes have now been made in the playlist. The final option under Tools is Create an iTunes library from this iPod. This can be used, as the option suggests, to create a new iTunes library from this iPod as follows. Note, I am already in the charity iPod. Under Tools, select Create an iTunes library from this iPod. Next, select the destination folder. For this demo, I have already created a temporary location. Ensure the target location is highlighted and click Start Build to continue. Click Yes on this prompt message, and the build is now started. Here is the target location after the build. The name of the iPod that I created in the iTunes library from. The name of the iTunes library is the file name ending with .itl. Once the process is complete, you can then optionally start iTunes while holding down the Shift key. iTunes will then display a dialog box where you can choose to pick up the newly created library. For more information on this can be found within Help option under section How to Use. This concludes the video presentation on bcPodNanny.